Welcome back, everybody. This video is for the Hex and PulseChain community, but it's also for the haters, and it's also for the people that might be on the fence. Maybe you haven't made up your mind yet, and maybe, just maybe, you've written it off a little bit too early based on what other people are telling you. So we're going to talk all about influencers, signals, being contrarian, top signals, bottom signals, all that good stuff. What you see in front of you right here is the Hex chart on the Ethereum side. Now, the chart that you see in front of your face right here is the chart that all of the mainstream influencers are going to show you without any regard to the nuance or what's actually happened in the Hex ecosystem. So I want to drill this point home. If you don't learn anything else from this video besides this one point, I want you guys to realize that this is not the only Hex chart. We have two different versions of Hex right now. Because when the PulseChain network launched, you have the Hex on Ethereum and you have the Hex on the PulseChain network. So this is a public service announcement for people that don't realize that this is actually what's going on. And there's more nuances and more things I need to add that don't tell the full picture of the whole story that you'll see on this chart. So this chart doesn't look awful, right? I mean, if you look at it from its very beginning history, this is hexchart.com, by the way. Pretty easy URL to remember. You're going to find a lot of people, first of all, that are going on to CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko or one of these websites that's biased or that doesn't tell you the whole full chart history. You know, a lot of times what happens in Hex is that people, they'll go on to CoinMarketCap and for some reason, you know, they'll just start measuring, the website will just start measuring Hex as if the price started around here. And so it looks like it just went right back up and came right back to where it started from, which isn't really the worst thing in the world. But don't forget Hex has staking, which a lot of people are staked and using Hex as a store of value. We're going to get into all these misconceptions in a little bit. We're going to talk about influencers, signals, and fading the crowd, okay? Taking the opposite point of view, which is very, very hard to do because the mainstream has you fooled. They have you fooled because they're not telling you the full picture. They're kind of lying to you based on their own, ignorance, misinformation, whatever. They might not be trying to be malicious, right? But they really don't understand the full picture. So, like I said, a lot of people, they'll go on CoinMarketCap and they don't realize that there was a whole bunch of time in Hex where a lot of people got in at really, really good prices. And many, many thousands of people are still very happy and comfortable today. Minus maybe the people that got up on the upper end of this bull run, as they do in every cycle. A lot of people come late. Some people, they taper off. Some people, they eject. And then some people double down on the dollar cost average and then they ride the next wave because they become a true believer, not only in Hex, but in crypto in general. And of course, some people just fall off and they don't make it. Crypto can be a dangerous and brutal game. Not everybody makes it. Okay, a lot of people, they come in, they weren't ready for the volatility and they go out with a bad taste in their mouth and they're never coming back again until crypto's mainstream, until, everybody and their mother has already bought and all the opportunity is gone. But that's why I'm still here making these videos at the bottom of the bear market. And a lot of people are getting excited. We're in the hope, disbelief phase, maybe. But guys, we're still in the bear market. Okay, let's be honest. We're not quite out of the woods yet. We need to see what happens, but this is the time to accumulate. This has been the time to accumulate. Bitcoin, Ethereum, PulseChain, Hex, PulseX, whatever you're into. Obviously, you guys know I'm into Hex, PulseChain, PulseX, but I'll tell you why. First of all, though, I want to back up a little bit. I want to talk about some influencers that are kind of mainstream. Okay, mainstream people like Suppoman. This is Suppoman on the screen right here, okay? He's got 128,000 subscribers. Not gigantic, but for crypto standards, this is a medium to large size channel, okay? This is probably in the larger territory right here. And here's him talking about Hex 2 years ago, okay? 2 years ago. Now, is he mainstream? Is he like the number one influencer of all of crypto? No, he's not, but he's significant, okay? He's got significance. And let's play a little clip right here so you can hear what he's talking about.
So let's now move on to the main subject of today. So, you may have noticed Hex absolutely exploding of late. Now, you will also probably have noticed that Richard Hart is on every single YouTube channel. He's not on mine. Richard, where the hell are you? No, I'm joking. I don't do interviews, but...
So there you go. I mean, I'm not going to play the whole clip for you guys, but this is Suppoman, right? The traditional, one of the mainstream normie influencers, some people might say. Just probably speaking his mind about what he's actually interested in. So I respect Suppoman. He's not completely sold out. I don't see any margin trading links over here. I don't see anything too malicious about this guy, and he's been around for a while, so you might want to listen to him. But check out his Twitter as well. People don't talk about this, but a lot of these influencers, they've been here the whole time. They've been silently accumulating their bags, probably more than just a moon bag for some of them, no matter what they say, and sometimes silence. Sometimes they're silent the whole time while they're buying. But I think Suppoman is the perfect example of one of the normal mainstream influencers that has publicly flipped. And they're going to keep on flipping, guys. They're going to keep on flipping. So keep an eye out for when many, many more of these guys continue to flip. What do I mean? It's popular to hate Hex. It's popular to hate PulseChain. It's the mainstream opinion. It's the opinion that everybody else has. And when everybody is aligned on one particular thing, one way of thinking, the crowd is usually wrong. The herd mentality is usually incorrect. We've got Suppoman over here being bold and brave, and it is really. I'm not being facetious here. You know, he really is taking a gamble on his reputation, right? Oh, what are the other influencers going to think? They think Richard Hart's on the naughty list, right? That's where all the value is, guys. The deep value is where nobody's at yet. Where there's huge opportunity, 180 influencers, tons of projects being built on PulseChain and Hex every day. Here's a heat map, by the way. Here's a general map of 50,000 plus validators. Okay, these are real people. And we've got over 50,000 validators, on-chain metrics, millions of dollars of daily active liquidity, higher than Ripple. And Ripple's been around for 13 years. We've got tons of projects going on. This doesn't even show the 180 plus micro influencers. I guess that's what you might want to call us. Call us whatever you want, okay? We're fanatics. We're like fans of a sports team over here. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're yelling as loud as we can, screaming from the rooftops about real DeFi, not your keys, not your coins, crypto the right way, real freedom of speech, defending blockchain technology the way it was supposed to be the whole time. That's what's going on, but not a lot of people see this whole full picture yet. And that's good, okay? Because that's where the opportunity really, really is. That's what I firmly believe. Look, it's cool to like Bitcoin now. Everybody has kind of admitted that Bitcoin is here to stay. But you know what they were saying about Bitcoin in the early days? Or Ethereum in the early days? The same stuff they're saying about PulseChain and Hex now. Oh, it's a scam. It'll never go anywhere. That Richard Hart guy is a scammer. That's when everybody hates it. When it's got low liquidity. When it's not listed on any centralized exchanges. When it was the hardest to get. That was when Bitcoin was the best possible buy. When it was only traded on one single exchange and the liquidity sucked. If you tried to sell, $2 million worth of Bitcoin, you would paint a huge giant red candle on the chart. That was Mt. Gox back in the day, 2011. And wouldn't you like to go back in time and scoop up a whole bunch of Bitcoin for $10, maybe $2 even? So let's go back to our pal, Mr. Suppoman. Okay, look at what he's added in his profile, in his public profile. I don't think people are talking about this much. I don't know how long he's had Hex in his public profile, but to have Hex in your public profile is heresy. Okay, it is not the cool, trendy thing to do. The cool, trendy thing to do in crypto is to talk about Solana. Oh my God, did you see Solana? I can't wait to exit. Me and my VC friends, we can't wait to dump on the plebs. It's pumping today, isn't it? And when that's the mainstream coin, right? You don't want to get caught up in what mainstream people are still talking about. So I would consider myself, I would consider a lot of other people in this ecosystem relatively unknown. I've only got 30,000 subscribers, and I don't even really keep count, but it's good to look at the metrics, right? The real metrics of what's the on-chain data versus what are the social metrics of everybody else talking about it. And we've got a network over here that can't be ignored, but we haven't really broken through. The floodgates haven't fully come down yet. And I think that could easily happen in the next bull market. It could easily happen. The floodgates could come down. And when you start to see not only the flippening of, Ethereum versus Bitcoin, but all the little flippenings of these influencers on Twitter, on YouTube, when they start talking about it. And Suppoman was one of the first. Okay, so respect where respect is due. Thank you for changing your mind. A lot of people, he was harsh on Hex at first. He says it publicly. He says, I was very harsh on Hex at first and I changed my mind. Wouldn't it be nice if more people could do that? You know what I mean? There's this Mason guy as well. Check out this Mason guy. He's got a message to the Hex community, and people don't remember this because it happens, everyone forgets, the attention span of a gerbil over here. Everyone forgets things in 2 weeks, but it's good to remember where people were at various times in their crypto learning cycle and when they flipped. So let's take a listen to Mason versus Lewis. I hope I'm saying that right, Mason. We'll play this video right here.
Right, but there's a small percentage of these dudes who are still hating. This is the most backwards mindset ever. The only thing that, is being done when a large influencer, crypto influencer, I hate that term, but when I talk about Hex, the only thing I'm doing is bringing thousands more eyeballs to your project, right? People will always find something to hate.
True that, Mason. People will always find something to hate. But what he's referring to is the fact that he also had his own flippening in his stance on Richard Hart on PulseChain. And this guy's got, he's not a small account. What is that, 168? He's a little bit bigger than Suppoman. Okay, I don't know if he's got a YouTube channel, but I see him all the time on Twitter, TikTok. A younger dude, and he was basically saying to the Hex community, guys, you can stop hating on me now, guys. I'm on your team here, okay? So if anyone's out here, that doesn't know already that Mason has changed his stance on Hex and PulseChain, and this is okay, guys. I want everyone to know this is okay. This is good. But again, this could be more top signals when we get into the bull market too, is when you see a mass flippening of everybody. These are the early flippers. They're not the crazy initial investors. They're not those loon birds over there like me and you, but they're relatively early adopters in the grand scheme of things. Okay. And this guy, he's basically making a response saying, guys, can we please stop pulling up those old clips where I said, Hex was a scam or whatever. I've already publicly stated Richard Hart's not a bad guy. And yes, I might have been wrong about Hex and PulseChain. And he's even bought some. Look, he's even bought some over here. He's like, I might get a moon bag if this tweet gets 1,000 likes. So, this guy's got a little bit of Hex. Suppoman's got a little bit of Hex. He's been talking about the sacrifice phases since before they were around. Suppoman has sacrificed for PulseChain and Hex. Nobody wants to miss out, guys. They saw what Hex did. They saw the 10,000x that Hex did. And nobody wants to miss out on round 2. Nobody wants to miss out on round 2, except for the people with their head in the sand that are in denial still. And the more people are still in denial, the more the opportunity is still on the table. There is still meat on the bone while people are in denial. Okay, I want to go over a couple more. Okay, a couple more big ones lately. This one, guys, this one is Ivan on Tech. And what do we know about Ivan on Tech? Shout out to Crypto Space over here. Ivan on Tech is a smart guy. He's a developer, and he's also a mainstream influencer. Let's look at how many followers he's got. 411,000 followers. He's about 3 times bigger maybe than those other two guys. Now look at this, guys. Look at this. Let's play this clip really quick for you. See if you can notice anything kind of peculiar about this little video, okay?
All of this and that, so they have all kinds of people to go after. And the only way for us to fix it is that you have downloadable DeFi. Instead of having a website, it needs to be open source code that you download to your computer and you run locally. We've been speaking about this for years on this channel as well. I think we're the first ones to speak about it, that future.
Open source code, downloadable files. What does that remind you of? Why is he talking about that now? Could it be that he potentially follows some Hexican PulseChain influencers in the space who have been ranting and raving about the go.hex.com update and the ethhex.com downloadable files, true decentralization? That's what Hex is doing. We're fully decentralizing the Hex code on IPFS, Interplanetary File System. We have a downloadable file. You can run Hex, the code, from your computer. You don't even need to go to a middleman website. Okay, it's real decentralization, real DeFi. Now all of a sudden, Ivan on Tech, shout out, big props to Ivan on Tech because he's fully in line, I think, with the ideals of crypto as well. Smart guy. Never really had a negative opinion about Richard. Probably thought he was a little eccentric. But you could see these guys, they don't want to risk their reputation going full, wholehearted support for Richard Hart because they've built up their own business, their own brand, and it takes them time. And we've known that Ivan and Richard are friends, okay? They were on stage together in, was it Amsterdam? Something. You can go watch that old video, okay? They're friends because smart people tend to get along with other smart people, all right? And I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know if this is true, but I would not be surprised if Ivan on Tech has got a bag of PulseChain, if he's got a bag of Hex. I would not be surprised at all. If I had to bet, I would bet that he does. But it's not necessarily the cool thing to do to talk about that because their brand that they've built up, what they perceive their brand to be, they perceive their brand would be at risk if they went against the herd mentality of Richard's a scammer, PulseChain is dead, Hex is dead, the chart is dead, blah, blah, blah. Guys, we're going to go over the chart misconceptions, okay? We're going to get back to that in a minute, right? A lot of people just counting from the coin market cap chart. A lot of people using a linear scale. Oh my God, it's like freaking kindergarten over here. You got to teach these guys to press the log button because every crypto chart looks like this when they go parabolic. And what you hide on the linear scale, guys, what you hide on the linear scale is the parabolic nature of the growth and how it was actually feeling at the time. So what might have looked like a tiny little bump way back when was probably a pretty huge size dip. If you scroll back in time and use the log scale, so always be pressing the logarithmic scale, especially when you're on longer time frames, guys. Especially, that's another mistake a lot of influencers make. They don't press the log button. They press it on Bitcoin all day long because it shows the Bitcoin chart history fully fine. It shows the fact that, a run up from $30 down to $2. If you're on a linear chart, that $30 to $2, that 90% drop, it's going to look like nothing in the grand scheme of things on the way to $69,000. But on the logarithmic scale, you can see, wow, Bitcoin went up a lot and down a lot, and up a lot and down a lot, and it did that 4 times in a row. So it basically exposes the huge volatility because when something goes parabolic, and you're on a linear chart, it's easy to say, oh, look at how easy it would have been to buy over here. Look at how easy it would have been to buy in this flat line over here, right? Wrong. Press the log chart. Look at all this crazy volatility. Would you have had the stones? Would you have had the iron cojones to hold from this price level up here all the way down at an 80% dip, and we had 40%, 60% dips all along the way? Holding this stuff is not an easy thing, but the linear chart makes it look a lot easier, and it also makes things look a lot more dead. And that goes along with a lot of other misconceptions. We're going to get to that in 1 minute because I want to cover Altcoin Daily. Good old Altcoin Daily. And shout out to our boy Gold Key. Gold Key over here tweeting out the on-chain undeniable hex statistics. These are PulseChain statistics, actually. Guys, I'm going to read them aloud for you. All right. This is blockchain data that you cannot fake. You can't make this data up. The social metrics, 180 influencers, 200 plus projects, legitimate DeFi projects, protocols being built on PulseChain. People are spending their entire livelihoods building on PulseChain, real builders, DeFi builders, with the ethos of crypto. But on top of that, let's see how successful PulseChain has been after its 6-month birthday. Happy 6-month birthday to PulseChain. Everybody, by the way, I think it was yesterday. So happy belated 6-month birthday to PulseChain. We've got 400,000 active wallets, $200 million in TVL, 50,000 validators with no liquid staking, no Lido type of deal. So these are real people, much more likely to be real people, doing real validators with real hardware worldwide. 15,000 daily active users. Okay, 15,000 daily active users at the bottom of a bear market for a 6-month-old blockchain. There's some chains today like Avalanche and Solana that don't even have that many daily active users. Yet everyone's all about them because they're mainstream, because they all got a bag, because everybody got wrecked by Sam Bankman-Fried and they want some exit liquidity, don't they? I'm just talking about Solana. You could tell maybe how I feel about it. But 15,000 daily active users on the PulseChain network. It hit top 3 in volume. And sometimes it's always in the top 10. Usually somewhere around 7 or 8 right now. But it's hit top 3 right after Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain in terms of volume. So we know it's possible. We know the potential. You've got over 200 DeFi projects launched, fully launched, and people building more and more every day. And 3 billion plus total volume on the PulseX trading platform, the decentralized exchange. On top of that, almost 3% of the total PulseX circulating supply has been bought and burned on the open market, making that extremely bullish. But let's see what Mr. Goldkey got himself into. He got picked up by the old Altcoin Daily. And if you guys don't know Altcoin Daily, let me see how many followers this guy has. Okay, 1.4 million. So Suppoman plus Mason plus Ivan on Tech plus a couple of other guys equals 1 Altcoin Daily. That's a lot of followers, guys. Now this guy, I'm sure he's a great guy in real life. I can't stand his Twitter. It's nothing but engagement bait, pre-canned tweets of, what coins are you buying today? Comment below. He doesn't care about what coins you're buying, guys. He wants the engagement that you're so willing to give him. Everybody is so willing to fall for the engagement bait, the garbage quality tweets of this influencer that has amassed 1.4 million followers by hacking your psychology and making you guys think that he cares about your opinion. But let's go find out and see what Altcoin Daily is saying about PulseChain.
PulseChain is now 6 months old, although it is founded by an infamous figure in the space.
An infamous figure. Look at that guy. He's buying a bunch of Gucci. I don't like that. That makes me mad because I like the guys in the suits because they remind me of traditional finance, and I can't possibly fathom that somebody that doesn't look like a TradFi bro could possibly have made something that's not a scam. So the infamous Richard Hart. Let's see what else he has to say.
Richard Hart, I'd say PulseChain doesn't quite come with the baggage that Hex has, which is also another Richard Hart project.
Aha, guys. What have I been saying on live streams for the last 6 months, maybe even a year? Guys, I've been predicting people were going to act exactly like this. PulseChain is giving them an out. PulseChain is giving them an excuse to say, oh, well, maybe Hex is kind of a scam, but this PulseChain thing, this is something I can get my head around. It's a layer 1 blockchain, clone of Ethereum. They're giving themselves an excuse to get in on the action because they know that it's undeniable. This is where the action is happening. This is where people have made gains, where they will make gains in the bull market, where there's a raving lunatic community, all of us, hundreds of public people on Twitter, maybe thousands, but many, many more thousands that are silent, just on the sidelines, enjoying the community in real life, going on the PulseChain tour, city to city, across the entire country, all across Europe as well. It's unmatched. The community is unbeatable, and people are now just catching on. The Altcoin Daily, the most mainstream of influencers, is catching on, and they're giving themselves that classic, what I'd always predicted, that excuse of it's a slow flip, right? It's a slow flip. Well, okay, maybe Hex is a scam, but this PulseChain thing I understand, because nobody likes the whole better Bitcoin narrative, but better Ethereum, that's okay somehow, right?
Not to mention the metrics speak for themselves. Say you can be bullish or bearish, but eventually you just have to follow and see what the metrics are doing. So
Eventually, you just have to capitulate and realize you were wrong and say, I'm sorry. And it's okay, Altcoin Daily. We accept you. We accept you. But this is the mentality. This is the beautiful thing about PulseChain. The beautiful thing about PulseChain is that it gives people that narrative in their mind that they can tell other people, well, I wasn't wrong. I was just, I just didn't like Hex, but I like PulseChain now. And while I'm at it, well, maybe I'll get some Hex too because it's correlated to PulseChain, and might as well get some PulseX because they're all correlated and liquidity bonded, and they're all Richard Hart coins. And, imagine Richard Hart beats the SEC case. He's objectively not a scammer. You can't call him a scammer anymore. Imagine they drop the SEC case. Imagine Gary gets fired. Any one of these things could happen. Or imagine Richard pays a fine. Imagine he pays a fine and then go about your day, business as usual. In all of these scenarios, the people that are going to wait for that confirmation bias, for everything to be okay with Richard to somehow buy the decentralized products that he created that he doesn't have any control over anyway. If he got hit by a bus tomorrow, they would continue working totally perfectly fine. But some people aren't going to flip. They're not going to change their opinion until it's socially acceptable to do so. When it's socially acceptable, guys, all of the mad gains, we could be at, hundreds of X's from now. And only then will people have seen enough green candles to say, okay, well, I understand this PulseX thing. And they're going to be late to the party. It's the same thing as Michael Saylor, guys. He loved buying it at $10,000, hated it at $30. He called it an online gambling scam. Then he bought a whole bunch of it. He literally took out his whole entire company based on Bitcoin in the last cycle, only after it's been around long enough to not be considered risky anymore. But you know what they say, no risk, no reward. High perceived risk, high reward. But us in the community, we know that we've got real decentralized products not going anywhere, guys. Not going anywhere at all. All kinds of people building. Guys, people are building legitimate things. And although I don't like more than half of these things, I'm not touching them, right? Most of these projects I have no interest in. But the people building them, they actually believe in them, okay? They're not all just a bunch of scammer pump and dump artists, okay? It's a little bit different than Binance Smart Chain. I mean, it's got some aspects of the whole Binance Smart Chain. Honestly, it does. But it's also a good thing. You want builders. You want people to be talking. And you still want that controversy. So you see Altcoin Daily, right? This is the big kahuna right here. This Altcoin Daily fella. 1.4 million followers. Who do we get next, guys? I'm going to guess BitBoy. I'm going to guess, BitBoy used to have 1 million followers before his fall from grace. I hope he's doing all right. But just keep in mind all these other influencers along the way. That's all I'm trying to say. Keep in mind, the more these guys flip, the more these guys fall into line and get behind their narrative. My guess is they're probably collecting their bags right now. And they're going to only talk about it. Maybe not Altcoin Daily. Shout out to these guys for changing their mind and being public about it early. But a lot of the mainstream influencers are going to do their rinse-repeat formula of they buy the coin before you. Then they talk about the coin on camera, and then they're dumping it on your head at the same time that they're talking about it. I'm telling you guys, I'm buying. I'm here during the bull market and the bear market. I'm here for 10 more years. But, I'm not waiting to release my top 5 picks of the day for when we're at the top of the bull market. And I've already loaded my bags, and I didn't even tell you guys about it. I've been screaming about this for the last 6 months. Honestly, 3+ years, right? 3 years at this point. But I've been here for the entire bear. Talking about dollar cost averaging, DCAing, accumulating. And that's what we've all been doing. If you're still here, congratulations. I really, truly believe that we're in the right place at the right time. And so don't get fooled if you're also brand new. Maybe you were on the fence. Maybe you're one of those people that just doesn't quite know yet. And somebody's showing you a Hex chart. Guys, I got to tell you, go to hexchart.com and get the full history. Number one, get the full chart history and realize there's a lot of winners in Hex. A lot of winners in Hex still because they bought earlier and they have a double copy of their coin. They have PHEX and EHEX. So one PHEX is worth double what an EHEX is worth. Twice as much. And everybody got these that was holding Hex for the long-term staking, right? On May 13th, 2023. It's kind of like a stock split. Not really like a stock split, kind of. But now they've got 2 versions of their coins. And the sum of those 2 versions is worth more than simply EHEX alone, okay? Obviously, press the log button, all right? Press the log button. And then, that should be obvious, right? Hexchart.com and realize we're on Dex Screener right here. We've got EHEX and PHEX. What's the price of EHEX? About 0.007. Price of PHEX is sitting at 1.3 cents, just about. You add those together, what do you get? 2 pennies, guys, 2 pennies. So everyone's showing you 0.007 today. 0.007 on the Hex chart right here. They're going to show you this number, but they're going to leave out the other half of the story that we have 2 copies. You know, what sparked my memory to even talk about this in the first place? It was your friend Sami over here. This guy, the hero of the bear market, guys. Your friend Sami. Friendship confirmed. He's talking about these guys. A couple of normies over here. This guy's not ready to take responsibility. Okay, Scotty and James, they're not ready to take responsibility for shilling FTX and Celsius to all their friends, all their followers, getting them wrecked, promoting centralized middlemen that crypto was invented to get rid of. They're not going to apologize. Okay, they've dug their heels in. They've dug their heels in. Here's one of the guys talking to Alex Mashinsky, talking about when he's had his referral links for FTX and Celsius. History was not so kind to a lot of these people, okay? And then here is him and his little buddy kind of snickering about I feel so bad for those poor Hex people. And what are they doing on the chart, guys? Showing a linear chart and showing the E-Hex chart. And they're showing a chart with not the full chart history. So all the mistakes I already said, these guys are making the classic blunder. And let's see what they have to say, shall we?
Crypto space, that is the biggest scam of this planet.
I brought on two hexers. I said that forever, and I was like, you know what? I give everybody a voice. They were just the nicest guys, man.
Yeah. Oh, I saw that video, and they were nice, but they were in disbelief. It's like, what type of Kool-Aid are these people drinking? And I felt
They were in disbelief. What type of Kool-Aid were these people drinking? Yeah, what type of Kool-Aid were we drinking, guys? What type of Kool-Aid are we drinking, huh? The Kool-Aid of mad gains, I hope. The Kool-Aid of mad gains. So just observe that this isn't, Sami's got a really good take on this. Right? There's no need to get angry about this. This is a signal. All these people right here are signals. When this guy stops pretending, those poor little Hexicans. Well, I mean, he's probably projecting, right? He got everyone wrecked on FTX. He got everyone wrecked on Celsius. Okay? How many people lost all their life savings in that? Versus how many people are actually still pretty happy on PulseChain? If you've been in PulseChain and Hex, if you got into Hex before 2021, and if you staked, even if you got in after 21, but you staked, you're still doing a lot better than a lot of these people can possibly fathom, because they're looking at the chart wrong. They're not looking at the real metrics. They're ignoring the double coin copy, and they're just, I feel bad for those guys. But you know what? He's right. Sami is absolutely right. I love his take on this, because you only win because they don't get it yet. They don't get it until prices are much higher, and then they give themselves the excuse of, the on-chain metrics are pretty undeniable on this PulseChain thing, and maybe Hex wasn't so bad after all, and what happened with the SEC case? They left Richard alone? Okay, Richard paid a fine, so I guess it's okay now. It's called information asymmetry. All right, these people just don't have all the information. They don't understand what's really going on. And guys, Scotty and James, if you're listening, it's not too late, bros. It's not too late. I could do without the fake sympathy projection and all that. I could do without that. But, it's okay. I'm only a little triggered. So we're going to go over here. We're going to go E-Hex and P-Hex. I need you guys to know this, especially if you're brand new to the PulseChain and Hex ecosystem. If you don't understand that there are two copies of the coin, and that influencers like these poor schmucks over here that shilled you FTX and Celsius, that got everybody wrecked and lost all their money. If you don't realize that they're not telling you the full picture by cutting off the chart right about here, by not pressing the log button like they always do on Bitcoin, by not realizing that there's a double coin copy, and finally, most importantly, by not realizing that if you were staked in Hex for the long term like we're all supposed to be here, the real long-term holders are the winners here in every cryptocurrency, but in Hex especially. And I'm one of many hundreds, probably thousands of people. I don't talk to all of them, but I know a ton of people firsthand that are winning in Hex, that are still up on their money because they were long-term stakers. They were early. Sure, they were early, but they staked for the long term. They didn't trade their money away. They were staked during the fork. Now they've got two copies of both their T-shares on both chains. If you don't know what T-shares are, maybe check out hexpassiveincome.com. If you're brand new to crypto, definitely get that course. If you're going into crypto and you don't have any education, guys, I don't know what to tell you. I cannot help you in this thing. If you're not in crypto already and you don't know anything about it, if you're an absolute beginner, you need hexpassiveincome.com. Okay? It's going to save you months in the learning process, potentially thousands of dollars in mistakes. And honestly, I wish I had something like that to help me out, to learn from what I did right and wrong. It's incredible value, hexpassiveincome.com. Link down below. It's a beginner's course. It's a beginner's course, but you don't want to be buying that course at the top of the market. But unfortunately, many people will, and I'll be talking about that the whole time. I'll be here bull and bear, right? I'll be here bull and bear. But, to go back to our friend Sami over here, he's talking about that when Bitcoin and Ethereum had their biggest drops, they only had their death blow for a couple of weeks. Hex had 4 months of looking dead on the floor. Dead on the floor. Looking that way, right? Looking dead on the floor. He's right. He's absolutely right. Look at this. This is like 1, 2, maybe 2.5 months. Maybe not 3 months, but let's be generous here. 180 content creators, more, really more, if you count everyone on Twitter. Celsius and FTX, James Shield does. So why can't they see the data that he's looking at? Why can't they see the data that Sami and I are looking at right now? I just don't know. And so yes, I understand it is a bad look to see a chart like that. Going back to Sami's tweet again, negative 95% is not a good look, especially for a store of value coin, he says. And I agree. But we also have to keep in mind that these things don't reach their intended narrative until many, many years down the line. Bitcoin is a store of value now, right? It's seen as a store of value, but it's a store of value that drops 75% every once in a while. It's a store of value that dropped from $30 to $2 one time. Like a 98% drop in Bitcoin in the early days. So it's easy to say, oh, how is that possibly a store of value? Well, when you have enough chart history to actually think about these things on a multi-year time frame. We're coming up on the third year of Hex. Let's wait a couple more years. Let's see how P-Hex plays out. Let's see how the PulseChain and PulseX play out. Brand new charts, first cycle coins, which usually pump the hardest, just saying. These store of value narratives, that's what Bitcoin settled on. Bitcoin settled on being a store of value narrative, right? It settled on being a store of value narrative because peer-to-peer digital cash didn't work out, right? Originally, Bitcoin, here's the white paper right here I want to mention. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. And then everybody got in a fight about that. People don't realize in the early days of Bitcoin, people were saying, well, you can't buy anything with this. It takes 10 minutes to confirm a transaction. It takes 1 hour for six confirmations. It's too expensive. It's $5 a transaction. Why should I be paying $5 to send a Bitcoin for someone if I'm supposed to be able to use it to buy my daily cup of coffee? It'll never work. There's so many naysayers. If you see the value and other people don't, you need to ignore the naysayers. Okay? And whatever narrative we land on, guys, it's going to be okay. It might not be store of value. But it might be because that's what Bitcoin became. And we know if Bitcoin can be a store of value and these things can store value over long time frames, they actually do store value, believe it or not. But they also come with extreme volatility. So it's easy to point to the recency bias and say, look, you dropped 95%. How is that a store of value? And it's not about how low something dropped. It's about how high it went up first and then how high it dropped and then how long you held it. Okay, a lot of people are playing these days and weeks, day trading games. They don't expect a lot of coins to be around here for longer than one cycle. But Hex and PulseChain, they're going to be here for a long, long time because these people aren't going away. And one of the emergent properties of Hex was that you had all these people locking up their coins for 10, 15 years sometimes. I've got some 15-year stakes. I've got a staking ladder, obviously not all launched in the future, but I've got stakes expiring every couple of months, maybe for the next 10 years. And the emergent property that this had was you've essentially got a fanatic community, a totally crazy fan base. I'm one of them. Okay. I know from experience that they're not going anywhere. They're stuck for better or worse, but they become even more gung-ho. They become even more pro-crypto, pro-spreading the message, trying to onboard other people. It's better than Bitcoin because a lot of people in Bitcoin, they came and they left and they're never coming back. They don't have anything to look forward to. We've got stakes to look forward to. We've got delayed gratification on our side. And we've got a bunch of mad gains to look forward to as well in the next bull market, not only for P-Hex and E-Hex, PulseChain and PulseX as well, and a lot of other coins in the ecosystem too. But just because something starts with a narrative, guys, like Bitcoin was peer-to-peer electronic cash, they don't stay that way. Narratives change over time. They morph. Ethereum, the official motto of Ethereum used to be world computer or Web3. Now, people still say Web3. Okay, that's still frequently used, but nobody says world computer anymore. What do they say? They say DeFi, decentralized finance. Vitalik Buterin did not expect at the beginning of Ethereum that it was going to be DeFi that took off as the narrative. Decentralized finance? That doesn't sound very good. What about world computer? Well, the market decided that it was actually DeFi and not world computer, even though, yeah, I kind of agree. World computer sounds pretty cool. People didn't adopt it. So Hex started off as a blockchain CD. I don't hear a lot of people using blockchain CD anymore, but it does behave similar to a CD in that it pays you yield for locking up longer. The longer you lock, the more yield you get. Although in some ways it's nothing like a CD because it's a replacement for the centralized middleman version of the CD, with government inflated money, fiat currency and banking system and all the middlemen that come along with that, all the censorship. So Hex can be a digital CD. It can be a store of value. You can look at it like a store of value. Watch in 10 more years when Hex is at $1, okay, and we look back and we see, well, it went from 0.00005 to $1 over a decade maybe. Let's even if that takes a decade. Wouldn't you say that it stored value pretty damn good for anyone that held it for 10 years? From 0.00005 even to $1? Now, Hex, I think, can go much higher than that in 10 more years. But that's what I'm saying. You can call it whatever you want to. It might not be store of value. Maybe it'll be some new narrative that we haven't thought of yet. So the whole narratives and everything, the narrative of peer-to-peer cash or, store of value, we don't know what they're going to be, but that's the fun part. It emerges with time. It's an emergent property that the people end up deciding on. The people end up deciding, guys. So let's decide to have a good bull market. Make sure you like, subscribe, share the video, leave a comment. And again, one last time, if you're brand new to crypto, you really don't want to miss out. You honestly owe it to yourself to get hexpassiveincome.com because it's incredible value. And by not learning about crypto, by not educating yourself before what could be a pretty fun bull run, you're really, really doing yourself a disservice. So consider that, and I'll see you on the next video.